The late afternoon sun hung low over Ouagadougou, painting the city in shades of gold and amber. Motorbikes zipped through the dusty streets, their exhaust mixing with the cries of market women calling out the prices of tomatoes, onions, and roasted peanuts. Life in Burkina Faso moved with its own rhythm, a mix of resilience, struggle, and hope. Among the many people weaving their way through the bustling market, a young boy caught President Ibrahim Traoré's eye. The boy couldn't have been more than 13. His clothes were torn and dusty, his small frame carrying a heavy sack of firewood that seemed far too big for his body. Beads of sweat rolled down his forehead as he stumbled through the crowd, ignored by the rush of the city. Traoré had been moving without his usual convoy that day. He had chosen simplicity, an unmarked car, in military uniform wearing red beret, and only one security aide at a distance. He believed a leader must sometimes walk among his people quietly, without barriers to see life as it truly was. The boy stopped near a tea stall. His lips were dry, his eyes tired, but instead of buying tea or water, he stood at the edge, waiting. Moments later, a man came, placed more wood on his sack, and handed him a few coins. The boy pocketed them silently and continued walking, as if this weight was his normal burden. Something stirred in Traoré's heart. He walked closer and gently called out, "Mon frère, petit frère." The boy turned, startled to see a tall man with kind eyes addressing him. "Yes, monsieur," the boy replied softly, his voice carrying the innocence of childhood mixed with the roughness of survival. "What is your name?" Traoré asked. "Abdoulaye," the boy said, lowering his gaze. "And why are you working so hard at this hour? Shouldn't you be in school?" Abdoulaye hesitated. His hands tightened around the sack straps, as if afraid someone might take away the only thing that gave him a few coins. "School, I stopped going. My father died last year. My mother is sick. I have 2 younger sisters. I work to buy food. If I don't, we don't eat." The words hit Traoré like a stone. For a moment, the bustling market around him grew silent. He saw in Abdoulaye not just a boy, but the story of thousands of children in Burkina Faso. Children whose dreams were buried under poverty, whose classrooms were replaced by markets and fields. "Do you want to study again?" Traoré asked gently. Abdoulaye looked up, his eyes shining with something fragile yet powerful. Hope. "Yes, monsieur. I want to be a teacher. I want to help children like me. But dreams don't buy food." Traoré felt a lump rise in his throat. The president in him thought of policies, reforms, national budgets. But the man in him, the human being who had once been a soldier from a modest family, saw a child carrying a nation's burden on his small shoulders. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a few notes, but he stopped. Simply giving money would solve nothing. He crouched down to the boy's level, looked him straight in the eyes and said, "Abdoulaye, listen to me. You will go back to school. I will make sure of it. Your mother will get help, and your sisters will not go hungry. But you must promise me something." The boy's eyes widened. "Promise what, monsieur?" "That you will never give up on your dream, that you will study no matter how hard it feels, because our country needs teachers. Our country needs boys like you to grow into men who will lift us all." Abdoulaye's lips trembled. No one had ever spoken to him like that. He nodded quickly, tears welling in his eyes. "I promise." By now, a small crowd had gathered, watching the strange interaction. Some recognized Traoré and began whispering. A woman placed her hand on her chest and murmured, "May God bless him." Traoré stood, lifted the heavy sack from the boy's shoulders, and set it down. "From today, this burden is no longer yours alone," he said firmly. He called his aide forward and gave instructions. Arrange medical care for Abdoulaye's mother, provide food support for the family, and ensure the boy's school enrollment by the next morning. The aide nodded, already making calls. The market buzz resumed, but something had shifted. People were no longer just watching a boy. They were witnessing a symbol of hope, a reminder that even in hardship, compassion could change lives. Abdoulaye wiped his tears and asked shyly, "Monsieur, who are you?" Traoré smiled.
I am just a Burkinabe who believes in you." But word spread quickly. "It is the president! The president is here!" The crowd swelled with emotion. Some clapped, others shouted blessings. A few cried openly, not just for Abdoulaye, but for their own children, their own struggles, their own hidden hopes. Traoré raised his hand to calm the noise. "My brothers, my sisters," he said loudly, his voice carrying strength. "This boy is not alone. None of our children should carry such heavy burdens. Education is their right. As long as I live, I will fight so that every Abdoulaye can dream freely." The market roared in applause. Abdoulaye, still holding back tears, felt the weight on his shoulders replaced by something lighter, possibility. That night, when he returned home with bags of food and news of his schooling, his mother wept with joy. His sisters clapped and danced. For the first time in a long time, their little house, though poor, was filled with light. And Ibrahim Traoré, as he sat quietly in his modest home later that evening, thought of the boy's promise. He knew one story couldn't change a country overnight, but he also knew revolutions begin with small sparks, one boy, one family, one dream reignited. If Abdoulaye could carry firewood at 13 to feed his family, then surely, with the right chance, he could carry books, knowledge, and wisdom to uplift generations. Traoré whispered to himself, "This is why I lead. Not for power, not for glory, but for them, the children who deserve better." And somewhere, in a humble house on the outskirts of Ouagadougou, a boy closed his eyes that night with a heart full of dreams, no longer drowned by hunger, but lifted by hope. If this story touched your heart, don't just scroll away. Share it with someone who believes in hope. Let the world know that small acts of compassion can create revolutions. Comment your thoughts. Like if you believe every child deserves education. Subscribe for more stories that inspire change. Thanks for watching. Together, let's keep hope alive.